the chosen one. Before you go any further, pause. This is not something to play in the background. This is not something to scroll past. This is not meant for distraction. Go somewhere quiet. Close the door. Sit down. Because what you're about to hear is not casual, it's confirmation. It's confirmation. There are moments in life when everything seems ordinary on the outside, yet something undeniable begins to shift within. You may not have had the words for it, or you may not have been able to explain it to anyone around you. But deep down, you knew something was changing. Not loudly, not dramatically, but undeniably. That quiet shift you've been feeling. That calm where anxiety used to live. That pause before reacting where you once would have responded instantly. That is not coincidence. That is transformation. You weren't just enduring hardship. You were being shaped by it. Every delay, every disappointment, every moment where it felt like nothing was moving, those weren't intentional. You were being refined, and refinement is not comfortable. It doesn't come with applause. It doesn't come with recognition. In fact, most of the time, it happens in isolation, when no one is watching, when no one is encouraging you, when even you begin to question what's happening. But that's where the real work is done. There were moments you chose, silence when you could have argued, moments you walked away when you could have fought, moments you forgave when it would have been easier to hold on to pain. Those choices mattered, even when no one acknowledged them, even when it felt like it made no difference, even when it seemed like you were losing while others were winning. You were not losing, you were being trusted with something greater. Because true authority is not given to those who demand it, it's entrusted to those who can carry it without being consumed by it. And you've been learning how to carry it. That's why things feel different now. That's why certain environments no longer feel comfortable. That's why conversations you used to engage in now feel draining. You've outgrown spaces that once defined you. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you're no longer the same person. Growth will do that. It will separate you from what once felt normal. It will shift your perspective. It will change what you tolerate. And sometimes, it will feel lonely. But that loneliness is not abandonment. It's alignment. You're being repositioned. There is a reason certain doors closed, without explanation. There is a reason certain people distanced themselves. There is a reason things didn't work out the way you expected. At the time it felt like loss. But now, if you look closely, you can see it differently. You are being protected from what could not go where you're going. Not everything that begins with you is meant to continue with you. And that's a difficult truth to accept. Because you cared, because you invested, because you believed it would last. But purpose requires clarity, and clarity often comes through separation. You're stepping into a season where discernment matters more than emotion, where peace becomes your compass, where silence speaks louder than noise, where your intuition feels sharper than ever before. That's not accidental. That's preparation. You're being prepared for a level where not everyone can go with you, where not everything can come with you, where you must trust what you feel, even when it doesn't make sense to others. Because what's ahead requires a different version of you, a stronger version, a calmer version, a more focused version. And that version is already forming. You've noticed it. You don't react the same way anymore. You don't chase the same things anymore. You don't fear the same outcomes anymore. There's a steadiness within you now, a quiet confidence, not loud, not boastful, but solid. That's what real growth looks like. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't need to prove itself. It simply is. And because of that, things around you are beginning to respond differently. Opportunities may appear unexpectedly. Conversations may shift in your favor. The situations that once felt overwhelming now feel manageable. This is what alignment looks like before it becomes visible success. It starts internally, long before anything changes externally. You are being trained in private for something that will eventually be seen in public. That's why it took time. That's why it required patience. That's why it demanded consistency. In the peace, anything built quickly can collapse just as fast. But what has been built within you, that cannot be taken, not by circumstances, not by people, not by setbacks, because it's not external, it's rooted within you. And now, you're stepping into a moment where everything begins to make sense. Not all at once, but piece by piece. You'll start to see why certain paths didn't open, why certain prayers weren't answered the way you expected, why certain delays were necessary. It wasn't denial, it was direction. You were being guided towards something more aligned with who you've become, not who you used to be. And that's important, because if those old doors had opened, they would have required an older version of you to walk through them. But you've changed, and now the doors ahead are designed for who you are now, not who you were. That's why timing matters. That's why patience was necessary. That's why the waiting was part of the process, because you had to become ready, not just willing. There's a difference. Willingness says, I want this. Willingness says, I want this. The readiness says, I can handle this. And now you're closer to readiness than you've ever been before. That doesn't mean everything will be easy. It doesn't mean there won't be challenges. But it does mean you are equipped in a way you weren't before. You've developed a resilience. You've gained wisdom. You've learned restraint. And those qualities will carry you further than talent ever could. Because talent may open doors, but character determines whether you stay. And your character has been tested over and over again, in ways no one else saw, in moments no one else understood. But you made it through, not perfectly, not without struggle, but you made it. And that matters more than you realize. Because now you're not just moving forward, you're moving forward with awareness. You're more intentional, more grounded, more aligned, and that changes everything. So if things feel different, trust that. If you feel a shift, honor that. If your instincts are telling you to move differently, listen, because you're not imagining it, you're evolving. And this evolution is leading you into a season where what you've been preparing for begins to unfold. Not all at once, but steadily, in ways that confirm everything you've been sensing. So don't rush it, don't force it, don't question it, just because it's unfamiliar. Growth often feels unfamiliar, but that doesn't make it wrong. It makes it new. And you're stepping into something new now, something aligned, something intentional, something that reflects who you have become. So take a moment, breathe, and recognize where you are. Not where you used to be, not where you thought you would be, but where you are right now. Because this moment